Hi, welcome back to the Restoration Couple and to the loft project. Today we're going to be looking at panelling some of these walls. So obviously we've used a whole kind of Frankenstein of different techniques up here on this project, from skimming the walls to kind of dry lining to exposed stone walls on the end there and exposed timbers, and now we're going to be looking at panelling. It's kind of a mishmash, but it kind of works. All these sort of different quirky kind of textures and different surfaces, they're all going to carry through the same sort of colour scheme, so hopefully things are going to knit together well. So the wall that's going to be behind all this desk area along here is going to be panelled with vertical kind of planks. So I'm going to do that in a similar way to how we did the plywood flooring, with the grooves cut in with the circular saw. What are you doing up here? You haven't got your safety boots on. I'm going to go and cut that one outside. I know that I just need one full sheet, so I'm going to use the 18mm ply on there, and that will give us plenty of strength as well for hanging the screens and any brackets and shelves on. Not you too. Pyjama party. I had at one point thought about doing this in horizontal, but that would have meant carrying up a full-size board, because I wouldn't want to join there, and I would have struggled. And I think it probably suits it better to have vertical. So there's going to be a little bit of scribing this end to get it to that stonework, but the way I've measured it out, it should leave us with, you know, the same size planks. So if we put a 2mm gap when we come to fix the same as the curve of our blade, then it should look fairly consistent all the way through. I've used this sort of technique in quite a few places in the house now. The flooring, the panelling. Normally when I've done the panelling, I've used the router with the V-bit to give the impression of like a tongue and groove cladding, which is very effective. Tends to work better on either good quality plywood or MDF, whereas if you use it on this type of plywood, the cheaper type, you sometimes get a bit of tear out using the V-bit, whereas the saw blade rips through, especially because you're going with the grain on this top veneer. There's quite a few tutorials on YouTube about shiplap effect walls. The tutorials I've seen tend to run it in strips through a table saw, or in the store if you're buying it, and then use spacers to fix it onto the wall to give you even spaces. But this, certainly in my eyes, seems a lot more efficient. One thing to bear in mind is, if I had these as planks, and especially where I've got that join, I don't want this silver showing through because it would shine out really quite blatantly. so I'll make sure that when I come to fit those two, the two boards together, I'll just slap a little bit of white paint on here, because these are going to be white, and then if anything does show through, it'll kind of blend in with the rest. Right, so I've got another hour or so to get some of this done. I've managed to frame out this cubby sort of access door which goes through to the eaves storage. And left an 18mm reveal there ready for this to slot in, and then we'll trim around this. And just cutting out this section which is going to notch around that doorway, and then I'll probably just have to take off a little bit from the top. So the panelling's all in now, and we're just putting the undercoat primer on, and you can't really see the join now between those two sections. Has put a little bit of extra plywood around the opening just to extend it all the way to that wall. The little bit that's scribed against the stonework is pretty average. There's still a little bit to fill there. There's a bit of a gap, but it's looking pretty good. So we'll let this dry up overnight, and then we'll fill any of those screw holes. So I went through with 100mm screws, so it screwed through the 50mm insulation straight into the original stud, so it's really strong structure now, so we can hang any screens or the desk or any shelving off that, no problem.